Hefty. In third place, number 234, Caitlin Page. Fourth place, stick around for the champion drive. Next, we're going to pull in our Class 2 of the lightweight market dairy goats. In this class, we have 267, Karina Knott, 357, Hunter Hurrah, 167, Lydia McHenry, and 213, Caleb Schlebaugh.
All right, here is our second class of lightweight market wethers. These guys weigh 58 to 60 pounds. And so in this class, it appears we've got an Oberhausley, La Mancha, probably an Alpine it looks like, and then a Toggenburg are represented in this class. And so when we look at dairy goats, they're kind of treated like dairy cows. They are bred for milk production. And so an average dairy goat, standard size, not any of our Nigerians, in their prime can average 6 to 8 pounds of milk production daily. So we're looking at 3 to 4 quarts, or almost a gallon, during their 8 to 10 month lactation, or the time that they are giving milk. And so usually that milk will average about a 3.5% butter fat. So that is why goat cheese and things like that is such a great component of our dairy goat milk. And so many of our goat milk byproducts, besides just milk and cheese, you also have soap, and some baby formula as well is made out of goat milk because the fats are easier to digest than those found in cow's milk. So that is why many will utilize dairy goats if they can when they're raising babies, both goats, calves, sheep, and children, because the fat is a little bit easier to process. All right, looks like our judge has made his selection for this class. Just kind of looking over his options again real quick. And looks like he's made his choices.
Right, a really nice competitive class of lightweight wethers here. I start off with this Toggenburg over the Alpine, just a little more flair to that muscling that we see down that top. He may grant a little bit of length from end to end to this Alpine type behind him, but I feel like the overall smoothness of blending in that front end and on out in that muscling that he has takes him over. This Alpine behind him, but a very nice pair to start this class with. And in our black wether here over the bay-colored wether behind him, a wether that is just thicker made, a little deeper in that heart girth, a little fuller in that heart girth, and a little more width in that chest floor. Over this wether here in 3, that, man, I wish this was a doe. What a beautiful top line on this animal when you view it from the side, but just not quite having that muscling over the black wether in front of him to move him on up, but definitely more because of that length from end to end down that top and that smoothness in muscling down that loin that we see placing him over this Oberhausley at the tail of the line. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
Placings for Class 2 of the lightweight market dairy goats. In fourth place, number 267, Karina Knott. Third place, number 357, Hunter Hurrah. Second place, number 167, Lydia McHenry. And in first place, number 213, Caleb Schlebaugh. Now we're going to bring back our first and second place class winners from our lightweight market dairy goat classes to compete in our champion drive. From class number 1, we will have Micah Schlebaugh and Isaiah Hefty. And from class 2, Caleb Schlebaugh and Lydia McHenry.
All right, so this is our first division championship. These are lightweight goats from 50 to 60 pounds. On the very left, exhibitor 213 is Caleb Schlebaugh with his goat that weighs 60 pounds. Behind him is his brother, number 215, Micah Schlebel, with his goat weighing 50 pounds. On the right, exhibitor 167 is Lydia McHenry, with her goat weighing 60 pounds. And behind her is Isaiah Hefty, with his goat weighing 53 pounds. So again, similar to the meat goats, looks like our judge has made his decision already.
Now choosing our champion of our lightweight division. I have our first place class winners closest to our audience and myself now. As I look at these two and I feel that top line and I feel the muscling that we like to see in these animals, I just feel like we have a pair at the top of this line that are very close in style and type and overall muscling. I'm going to use this Toggenburg, this young man here with this Toggenburg, and our young lady with the Alpine here is our champion in reserve in this division. Let's give them a nice round of applause.
Your champion was Caleb Slaybaugh, and your reserve was Lydia McHenry. We're going to go ahead and bring in Class 3, which is our first of two classes for our light medium weight market dairy goats. In this class, we're looking for number 64, Caden Brown, number 73, Connor Cottrell, number 247, Catherine Swigart, number 301, Lou Lance, and number 8, Angelica Dilt.
We are in our Class 3. This is the first of our light medium weight market classes. We will have two classes in this division. The animals in the ring right now weigh 63 to 67 pounds. So again, like you can see, these dairy goats are being shown with collars versus our meat goats that were being shown with halters. And that's just kind of the industry kind of preference as to which way they prefer to have them shown. And so in this class, looks like we have a couple of Alpines, and then the rest are Nubians. The Nubians have the long ears, and actually, La Manchas, which have the very short ears, are derived from Nubians. Someone many years ago decided to make goats with shorter ears, and so they started to take Nubians and breed them down for shorter and shorter ears. So we go from goats with the longest ears in the industry to goats with the shortest ears. And so again, the judge is just feeling for length of loin, width of the rib, just the overall muscling on these animals, how well they are finished. Again, we're still a little bit in that lightweight category, so the animals that could use, honestly, a little bit better muscling, a little bit better weight on them. But animals that, for the most part, the judge is choosing are look finished for their frame size, for their age. Again, the animals in this class, or in this show, have been born this calendar year, and so these are animals that are less than a year old at this point. Looks like the judge is looking him over and has made his choices for this class.
All righty. This is our next class of wethers in our weight classes, and I felt like I had an easy top with this black wether here at the top of this lineup. Just a weather really thicker May top to bottom. He's wider and deeper in that chest floor, carries that width and depth on back into the flank. He's longer and flatter down that top line and showing us more length of loin from end to end. Over really nice Nubian weather here in 2. I'd love to straighten out that top line just a little bit. Kind of is a little deceiving on his length, but he has a little more finish here than our black weather behind him in that muscling in that front end and down that top. And in our black weather over this white belted weather here in 3rd, a weather in his own right, just a little thicker May, a little more muscling down that top again, and showing us a little more strength in that overall leg and bone structure there that he has. Over really nice lengthened weather here in our 4th place weather over our 5th. It is that length and that strength of top line as well as overall muscling that we see. A really nice fed weather here at the tail line, for which it's commended. Just like to stretch it out just a little bit. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
Your placings for Class 3, our first class of light medium weight market dairy goats. In first place, number 247, Catherine Swigart. In second, number 64, Caden Brown. In third, number 73, Connor Cottrell. In fourth, number 301, Lou Lance. And in fifth, number 8, Angelica Diltz. We're going to go ahead and bring in our second class of light medium weight market dairy goats. In this class, we have entry number 42, Leah Martin. 116, Isaac Hefty. Number 8, Angelica Diltz. 125, Bryce Wallace. 213, Caleb Schleybaugh. And 166, Eva McHenry.
All right, this is our second of the light medium weight market dairy goat division. So these animals weigh 68 to 70 pounds in this division. And so we're starting to get up there to where we want to be in terms of ideal weight, in terms of good fleshing, in terms of just overall balance of these animals. Following this class, we will have our first and second place winners from Class 3 and 4 come back in for our champion and reserve champion, light medium weight market weather. So again, as the weather is starting to cool off this evening, these animals may be just a little bit jumpy and excited to kind of get out and get moving for the evening. So you might see a little jumping, but for the most part they should be pretty well behaved for everyone. Let's hear his reasons.
All right, really solid class of intermediate weight weathers here. I start off with this black Nubian weather at the head of this line. Just a weather that is more fresh today, and his overall look and style and smoothness of muscling throughout. The overall muscle down that top. He may grant just a little bit of length of rump and loin to this weather behind him. Just more fresher look here on this black weather over the white gray weather behind him. And it is that length from end to end on this second place weather that's placing it over the third. Just a longer style to this animal, longer in that loin, longer in that rump today on that top line, and showing us a little more depth as well in that heart girth up front. And then our third place wether over fourth place wether, a little closer here on this group, but again, I felt like we had more finish down that top and in that smoothness of blending in that front end and depth of heart girth that we see in this wether over the Oberhausley behind him. But Oberhausley is he's going to grant a little bit of length from end to end to this Ober, just not quite carrying the muscling that we see in this Nubian in front of him. But it is that length from end to end, that overall smoothness of blending we see in this Ob over the Nubian behind him, as well as the overall length from end to end that we see in that rump on that animal. And then our red Nubian over the Alpine style at the tail of the line, just showing us a little more muscling today, but it is going to grant some length from end to end to this Alpine at the tail of the line. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
Your placings for Class 4 of our light medium weight market dairy goats. In first place, we have 213, Caleb Schleybaugh. In second, 166, Eva McHenry. In third, 116, Isaac Hefty. In fourth, number 42, Leah Martin. And in fifth, number 125, Bryce Wallace. And in sixth, number 8, Angelica Diltz. We're going to now bring back our first and second place class winners from classes 3 and 4, our light medium weight market dairy goats, to determine our champion. From class 3, this will be Catherine Swigart and Caden Brown. And from class 4, Caleb Schleybaugh and Ava McHenry.
All right, so here's our lineup for the light medium weight market dairy goats. These are again first and second place winners from class 3 and 4. So these goats weigh 63 to 70 pounds out here in the ring. So again, we're getting a little more finish on these goats, a little bit larger frame size than what we saw maybe in our lightweight division. And so these are animals that are starting to get a little bit better finish on them, a little more meat, a little more muscling as we go through. All right, let's see who he places.
Right. Our intermediate class here of first and second place wethers, just a really nice pair of black wethers here to look at closest here to the audience. Two wethers that are very well fed, very nicely muscled, good length from end to end. I feel like today the champion is this Nubian at the head of this lineup. He's just got a little more length and extension and a little more smoothness and natural elegance about him, and that overall fleshing that he has over the Alpine style behind him. But I do feel like this Alpine black wether over our white wether here that's second to our champion is fresher, is thicker made, is deeper in that heart girth, and shows us a little more muscling down that top and in that rear leg today, and shows us that right amount of finish in my mind as well. So I'll use these two wethers closest to me as our champion reserve. Let's give them a nice round of applause.
Your champion was Caleb Schleybaugh, and your reserve was Catherine Swigart. Our champion award was sponsored in memory of Dorothy Ross by Roxanne and Anna Becker, and our reserve was sponsored by the Abaugh family. We're going to be moving into our first of 3 medium weight market dairy goat classes. This is class number 5, and in this class we have entry 71, Remington Weinbrenner, number 78, Bridget Dunn, number 162, Anna McHenry, number 112, Caden Crable, and number 267, Karina Knott.
All right, we are starting the first of our 3 medium weight market dairy goat classes. The individuals in this class are from 72 to 75 pounds. And it looks like we've got Nubian, Alpine, La Mancha, and Toggenburgs represented in this class. And so as we look at dairy goats again, and goats in general, but more of our dairy goats. They do tend to be a little more agile, a little more deer-like in some of their steps, and so that is why it's important if you are going to consider having goats of any sort, that probably your number one priority should be good fences. Whether you use electric fences or panels or any sort of fences like that, you want to make sure they are good, strong, and sturdy, because these guys are escape artists if they can. The saying goes, if it can't hold water, it can't hold goats, and we've seen that to be true. So if you're going to own dairy goats, or really goats of any sort, or any livestock, good fences are a must. So. And again, the judge is going through, evaluating the loin length, the shape of the ribs, the overall fill on these animals of the meat, and how well they're conditioned and muscled for their age and for their weight and for their body size. So as we look at these animals, we do see that they are, like I said, a little more fine. They do have a little bit smaller legs, but doesn't mean that they can't still hold good body weight and good meat and muscling. So it looks like he's starting to make his choices and his decision on this Class 5 of the medium weight market division. Looks like he's taking one last look at everything. And he's made his choices.
All righty, another really good class, top to bottom, not a bad one out here to judge. I start out with this Nubian belted wether. He is just a wether that, again, is more finished down that top, showing us more rear leg muscling. He may grant just a little bit of length in that loin to this Toggenburg behind him, but that Toggenburg is so long that it is taking him well over the second place wether, along with the finish that he has in his own right and the muscling that he carries there with that length from end to end. And then our third place wether over fourth, a closer placing here, but I feel like he's carrying a little more muscling here, a little more finish today in that front end and that chest, just a little smoother blended there than we see in this La Mancha wether here in fourth. And it is that length from end to end that's taking us over this nice Alpine at the tail of the line, a really well-fed Alpine at the tail of the line, just not quite having enough to go up any higher in the class, but let's give him a nice round of applause.
Our placings for Class 5 of our medium weight market dairy goats: in first place, Remington Weinbrenner; in second, Caden Crable; in third, Bridget Dunn; in fourth, Anna McHenry; and in fifth, Carrie Ann Knott. We're going to be moving into our second class of medium weight market dairy goats. This is class number 6. In this class, we have entry number 79, Natalie Dunn; 203, Violet Hill; 268, Regan Knott; 277, Weston Nestor; and 359, Madison Hurrah.
All right, we've got our second class of medium weight market dairy goats. The animals in this class are a pound apart, so they're 76 to 77 pounds. But we see how greatly different their frame size and things like that are in terms of their finish and how they look. So as we look at these animals, we want to make sure when we set them up that we have our feet kind of square underneath the animal, that we aren't getting them too far stretched out because that can kind of warp kind of their top line a little bit. We want a good, nice, flat top line if we can. And then we want to make sure that these guys don't get braced like market goats do. They just get held onto. And the judge has to feel just kind of how fresh or how tight that meat feels versus maybe too soft if it's starting to get a little bit too much fat cover on it. So these animals are ones that you want to have a nice firm touch to them without having too much fat that may come along with it. Looks like the judge is starting to make his choices for Class 6. Alright, looks like he's pretty well made his decisions. And let's see what he's got to say. Nope, maybe not. Making a second guess. Alright, he's got his decisions.
So we got a group of wethers here, very close in weight and style, and the overall finish that they have. And I felt like I pulled this La Mancha to the top, just so much length from end to end, length in that loin, length in the rump, beautiful top line on this animal, along with the width and depth it has throughout. A good finish wether here, but it is that length from end to end, placing over this nice Nubian in 2. 2 over 3. Again, I pulled these two out pretty quickly. I felt they were very similar in style and type. I feel like the Nubian was just a little wider and deeper in that chest floor, carrying a little more depth on back into that flank and overall finish. He probably is going to grant just style here in 3, but a really nice smooth wether here in 3, which I'll comment. Really love the eye appeal of this wether here in 3. 3 over 4, it is that length again from end to end, the overall smoothness of top line, the straightness of walking a little nicer uphill. And then our red wether over our La Mancha here at the tail of the line, again in his own right, just a wider and deeper in that chest floor, a little more depth and power there up front, and carrying that back into the flank. Over a longer styled La Mancha wether here at the tail of the line that walks a little nicer uphill, for which it is commended. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
Your placings for Class 6, our second class of market weight dairy goats. In first place, Madison Hurrah. In second, Weston Nestor. In third, Natalie Dunn. In fourth, Violet Hill. And in fifth, Reagan Knott. We're going to be moving on to our final class of medium weight market dairy goats. This is class number 7, and in this class we have entry number 55, Abby Harris, number 117, Alex Wolf, number 362, McKinley Hurrah, number 124, Ashton Chittenden, and number 79, Natalie Dunn.
All right, so this is our last class of the medium weight market dairy goats. So these guys are weighing 80 to 82 pounds. So really when we're looking at kind of that good finish, we're getting about there. You can see these guys are a little bit fleshier than some of our lightweight animals were. They have a little more fill to them from their front brisket area back to their loin region. And so these animals are just a little bit more finished, kind of getting there closer to that ideal market weight.
We once again just want to say a special thank you to our sponsor of the day, Northeastern Group Realty. Northeastern Group Realty has been committed to serving Allen County and the surrounding community since 2009, with the exciting addition of our Auburn office in 2019. Our Auburn Realtors are proud members of your community, dedicated to serving all of your real estate needs with excellence and care. Our agents are honored to be voted in Reader's Choice #1 real estate company in 2025. Good luck to all the wonderful 4-H'ers and enjoy making memories to last a lifetime.
Again, thank you Northeastern Group Realty for being our sponsor of the day. Looks like our judge has made his decision in this last class of the medium weight division. And let's see what his reasoning is for this class.
All right, I just felt like I had a pair of Alpines here that fit together very nicely in the overall finish and style and type that they are, and the overall depth and muscling that they carry. I felt like the brown one is just a little more of it in the overall meatiness of this weather over our second one, but a very close placing here. And then 2 over 3, again, it is that overall depth and width and style that it is, and that amount of muscling is going to grant some length of the loin and length from end to end of this weather here, this Nubian in 3. And it is that length from end to end that's placing this Nubian over the others behind him, and good length from end to end here. And then our Alpine type over our Nubian, just a little more finish up front, a little more extension of that brisket, a little more showy front end here on this weather, but 2 really nice long styled weathers. We just like to see them a little more heavily muscled to move them up in class today, but a very competitive class. Let's give them a nice round of applause.
Your placings for Class 7, our last class of medium weight market dairy goats. In first place, Natalie Dunn. In second, Alex Wolf. In third, Ashton Chittenden. In fourth, McKinley Hurrah. And in fifth, Abby Harris. Now we're going to bring back our first and second place class winners from classes 5 through 7, our medium weight market dairy goats, to compete in our champion drive. From Class 5, this will be Remington Weinbrenner and Caden Crable. From Class 6, this will be Madison Hurrah and Weston Nestor. And from Class 7, this will be Natalie Dunn and Alex Wolf.
All right, so we have all of our class winners and second place individuals for our medium weight market goats. These animals weighed 72 to 82 pounds in this division. So our first place winners again from class 5. So on the back end, exhibitor 71, Remington Weinbrenner. Middle class is exhibitor 359, Madison Hurrah. And class 7 Exhibitor 79, Natalie Dunn. Second place from Class 5, Exhibitor 112, Caden Crable. From Class 6, we have second place Weston Nestor, Exhibitor 277. And from Class 7, we have Exhibitor 117, Alex Wolf. All right, so again, we'd like to introduce our judge, Jerry Lubenhusen from Davies County near Elnora, Indiana. He farms with his wife, Sarah, and sons, Jason and Craig. And I'll finish introducing once he chooses his champion.
Very competitive group of wethers, well fed, well maintained, and well growing out for the show here today. There's some things I like about all three of these in this front lineup. As far as the overall length, I really like this La Mancha style in the middle. The overall finish, I like the two on both ends of this lineup. And as I view these animals and I feel that top line, I feel the muscling down that loin, and along with that rear leg are our main cuts on these wethers. I feel like the two that put it together for me, the overall finish, the overall width of that loin, the overall meatiness that they're exhibiting are these two heavier wethers at the head of this line, and these two alpines here are going to be your champion and reserve in this division. Let's give them a nice round of applause.
Your champion, medium weight market dairy goat, was Natalie Dunn, and your reserve was Alex Wolf. Our champion award was sponsored by Richard and Diane Smith, and our reserve was sponsored by Hydrovac Site Solutions. We're going to go ahead and move into first of three classes of our heavy medium weight market dairy goats. This is class number 8, and in this class, and 148 Taylor hand shoe.
All right, congratulations to our champion, medium weight market dairy goat champion, Natalie Dunn, and reserve champion goes to Alex Wolf. So this is the first of our heavy medium weight market dairy goat classes. There will be 3 in this division as well. The animals in this class weigh 83 to 84 pounds. So we're only looking at really a 1 pound difference in these animals. So to continue introducing our judge, Jerry Lubenhusen, he farms with his wife, Sarah, and sons, Jason and Craig, again in Davies County. They raise corn, soybeans, wheat, a lot of hay, and a lot of boar, Oberhasli, and Nubian goats. Jerry has been a 4-H leader for 35 plus years and is the first assistant of dairy goats at the Indiana State Fair. So we greatly appreciate Jerry driving up here this evening to judge our dairy goat portion of our goat show. So as we talk about goats, we talk about them being small ruminants. And so when we talk about ruminants as a whole, so things like cattle, goats, sheep, deer, all of these animals are considered ruminants, and they have what are called really 4 stomachs, really 4 compartments to that stomach. And so they are made up of the rumen, the reticulum, the omasum, and the abomasum. So that is why once the food enters the rumen, it gets regurgitated, and that's why you see the cows, goats, sheep, deer, all chewing their cud. It's part of their digestive process. So that is why they are called ruminants. Judge is looking down his line again. He's made his initial selection, but he's just doing another check because these animals are getting up to a pretty good market weight with good flesh, so he just wants to make sure they're filled out well. Alright, looks like he's made his choices.
Very competitive class again, top to bottom here in this next heavyweight or medium weight class of wethers. Took me just a little bit to find this spotted wether, but today, as you look at these, the one that is finished and ready for market is this guy. He's wider and deeper in that chest. He carries more fleshing down that top and that loin. Toggenburg style wether here behind him. Just a smoother style wether here in the overall finish that he has. Just a little cleaner in that, a little wider and deeper in that chest floor today. And then our Toggenburg over this nice style Nubian behind him. Just a wether that travels more freely on those feet and legs, is longer in that cannon bone, and shows us a little more finish and length and width in that rump. And then our Nubian over this sonnet style, whether at the tail of the line or whether it's just a little more finished today. I will say on a sonnet, they're very dairy, and this is a well-fed wether, and this young man should be commended for it. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
Your placings for Class 8 are first class of heavy medium weight market dairy goats. In first place, Blake Hanshoe. In second, Blake Hanshoe. In third, Alex Wolf. In fourth, Taylor Hanshoe. And in fifth, Connor Cottrell. Next, we're going to bring in our second class of heavy medium weight market dairy goats. This is class number 9. In this class, we have Abby Harris, Taylor Hanshoe, and Nestor.
So we are on class 9 now of the heavy medium weight market dairy wethers. These are weights 85 to 88 pounds. So you can see how these animals are definitely more filled out than some of our earlier weights. And there are a few of these out here that may start to get a little fleshy as the judge is handling them as they are walking around the ring. So we just need to kind of watch as we start to get animals up into these weights. They'll definitely have more fat cover, and so sometimes that fat gets into that meat and it's not quite as well tasting as an animal that would be in that 75 to 85 pound range. But as we continue to talk about goats, we talked about their stomachs, how they're ruminants, how they chew their cud, and so goats, as well as most of our other ruminants, have a lower set of teeth. And then the top set of teeth is actually just a hard pad up until you get to the back chewing teeth. So the very front on top is nice and soft. On the bottom have the sharp teeth, and then as you go back there are teeth on top and bottom. So that's why if you've ever had a dairy calf that have sucked on your fingers or a goat or anything like that, having them suck on the tip is okay because they aren't have the sharp teeth. But if you get those teeth back to your fingers and stuff back to the back of their teeth, they have a very painful bite. And so we can actually check the age of the goat based upon their teeth. Young goats lose their milk teeth when they're about 10 to 12 months old.
Alrighty, another really super stout class of wethers. I start off this black wether, just a wether that is very well finished today, deeper, that chest floor wider up front, and carries that width and depth on back into that flank, and shows us a little more finish down that top in his own right as well. Second and third, a little closer placing. I got a little longer style wether here in 2, giving that advantage today, and also a little smoother in that front end, a little more muscling and smoothness of blending from neck second is shoulder and shoulder to body wall with that muscling that this second place weather is having over our third place weather. Then the real issue was this third one and fourth one. So a third one, just a real well-fed weather, a weather that's got good finish on him, but a huge framed weather here at the tail of the line. I wish this was a doe at the tail of the line, just because the tremendous length from end to end that it has. But as far as the finish and the overall bone that we see is better in our third place weather. But a really nice long-bodied, long-loined weather here in 4, which it is commended. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
Your placings for class number 9, our second class of heavy medium weight market dairy goats. In first place, Taylor Hanshoe. In second, Abby Harris, Holston Nestor. And in fourth, Andrew McLean. We're going to go ahead and bring out our last class of heavy medium weight market dairy goats. This is class number 10. In this class, we have Bridget Dunn, number 203, Violet Hill, number 355, Audrey Malcolm, and number 369, Adeline Malcolm.
All right, this is our last class of the heavy medium weight market dairy goat division. These guys all weigh 89 pounds, so we can certainly see the different breeds, the different styles that we have out here. We have a Nubian to lead it off, followed by an Oberhausley. We have an Alpine type, and then we have a Saanen to finish it off. So again, these animals are getting pretty close to about that top range where we'd want them for market. The judge is going to be looking for, again, good muscling, good just overall cover. And so we'll see what the judge thinks, and we will go from there as he's evaluating them. Judge just made his initial choice, and we'll see if he sticks with this or if he makes any changes once they get in the lineup. Here's his reasons.
All right, wow, really nice class here. Dairy weathers top to bottom, and just not a bad one out here in this group. I did pick this Oberhausley at the top, just a wider chested weather, carries that width and depth on back. And this one, just a tremendous spring to those ribs on this weather, along with that width and depth that he has throughout. Not wasty, still very meaty and very sound on his overall muscling that he has. He is going to grant a little bit of length in that top line to this weather behind him, but I feel like a little more finish, a little stronger in that front end here in our Oberhausley over this really beautiful Alpine style weather here in 2, and this Alpine then over our Nubian in his own right. It is with that length that he has from end to end, and also the overall fleshing that he has, the finish down that top and width in that loin, as well as the length of that loins, placing him over the Nubian. Then our Nubian over our Asana, which was a little bit of a problem here, but for me, but a little less frame in this Nubian style, a little more finish down that top for his size and scale that he has, just a little shorter frame here and not quite so lanky, but a very well-fed weather with this Asana at the end of the line, and a good job that she's done with this weather. Let's give him a nice big round of applause.
Our placings for Class 10, our last class of heavy medium weight market dairy goats. In first place, number 203, Violet Hill. In second, number 355, Audrey Malcolm. In third, number 78, Bridget Dunn. And in fourth, number 369, Adeline Malcolm. Now we're going to bring in our class winners from classes 8 through 10, our heavy medium weight market dairy goats, to compete for our champion drive. From class 8, this will be Blake Hanshoe and Blake Hanshoe. From class 9, this will be Taylor Hanshoe and Abby Harris. And from class 10, we'll have Violet Hill and Audrey Malcolm.
All right. So we are on to our heavy medium weight market goat champion drive. Again, our first place from class 8 on the far side is Blake Hanshoe. Class 9, Taylor Hanshoe, and Class 10, Violet Hill. Our second place winners are Blake Hanshoe from Class 8, Abby Harris from Class 9, and Audrey Malcolm from Class 10. So congratulations to these exhibitors. Again, these guys are getting to the kind of the top end of where we'd like to see them in terms of market size. So they've got really good flesh on them. They've got good size. Getting a little rambunctious. It's getting cool out, and so everybody wants to go out and play. But we're looking at good fleshing without being too overcovered. It looks like he's made his choices for the heavy medium weight division.
I said it earlier, wow. Really nice bunch of weathers here to choose my champion and reserve in this division. Just a very sound animals, feet and leg wise, track around the ring, super good. I am a Nubian and an Oberhausley breeder. They are in the first lineup. Oberhausleys are really hard to get here in that first place lineup. They're a little more dairy. Nubians are raised for milk and meat, and it is in their breed characteristic that they're raised for milk and meat, and they carry a little more flesh a little more easily. Whenever I see a nice Ob that comes up to the top, they've done a great job feeding that animal, and she has. So congratulations to her on a good job there and getting in this lineup, because it's not easy with that breed. As I look down this lineup, though, I do feel like whenever you look at these three animals closest to me, there's two that come out to you pretty handedly, pretty easily, and the overall glossy eye appeal that they have, the overall smoothness of blending they have from end to end, the overall muscling that they carry underneath that glossy eye appeal that they have. And your champion today will be that black Nubian right there in the middle. Congratulations, young lady. Not to take anything away from this really nice fed Oberhausley, but I think the one that follows that Nubian so nicely today is that spotted Nubian that was right beside him, and he'll be your reserve. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
Your champion heavy medium weight market dairy goat was exhibited by Taylor Handshoe, and your reserve was exhibited by Blake Handshoe. Their awards are sponsored by Kenny and Sydney Furnish, and the reserve is sponsored by Hydrovac Site Solutions. We're going to go ahead and move into our heavyweight class of our dairy goats. This is class 11, our first of 2 heavyweight market dairy goat classes. In this class, we are looking for entry number 72, Rylan Weinbrenner, entry number 277, Weston Nestor, entry number 278, Colston Nestor, number 78, Bridget Dunn, and number 312, Wyatt Ruckman.
All right, so welcome to Class 11, the first of our heavyweight market dairy goat divisions. These goats weigh 90 to 93 pounds. And so again, we're starting to get towards the top of that weight division of our heavy goats. We'll have one more class of heavyweights that will go from 93 to 103 pounds. So you can see that they're just goats that are a lot larger frame than what we started with, larger body size than what we saw even in our largest boar goats, and that's mostly just due to their legs, to the length of the body. They still carry their flesh well, carry their weight well as they go around the ring. So as we talk more about our goats, so we talked about goats being ruminants and how they have the 4 parts of the stomach, and so goats can actually burp. So, due to their role of the rumen, and so an immature goat holds about 4 to 5 gallons of plant material, and as it breaks it down, kind of ferments it and produces a gas. And so the gas will be released in the form normally of burps. Our judge is making his initial choices as he goes down this line. And again, like he mentioned, Nubians tend to be a little bit larger in size, and so that's why we'll see kind of some of these heavier weight animals tend to be a few more Nubians than maybe some of our other breeds. Judge has made his choice, and he'll share his reasons.
All right, I felt like I had easy pair in this class. It came to the top very handily because of the size and scale of their frame, along with the meatiness that they have. I felt like this first one just slightly deeper in that front end on over this second place weather. I do think this second place weather is a little shorter necked, but he carries a little more finish in that front end there than our first place, but just the length overall and the overall accuracy of that finish that this first place weather is going to take it over our second. And it is that second place weather is that amount of finish that he has that's taking him over our third. Less frame here, as I mentioned, not so overly growing here in that frame, but a very well-muscled weather over this really long weather here in 3. It is that length from end to end, length in that rump that this weather has that's placing him over the rest of the class. And then our 4th place weather over our 5th, just a little more heavily muscled down that top, but what a beautiful framed weather here that we have at the tail of the line. Well growing, but just not quite having that overall muscling finish to put him up any higher in the class, but what a nice weather it is. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
Your placings for Class 11, our first class of heavyweight market dairy goats. In first place, we have number 72, Rylan Weinbrenner. In second, number 277, Weston Nestor. In third, number 78, Bridget Dunn. In fourth, number 278, Colston Nestor. And in fifth, number 312, Wyatt Ruckman. We're going to move into our second class of heavyweight market dairy goats. In this class, we have entry number 63, Owen Brown, entry number 310, Anna Ruckman, 311, Leroy Ruckman, 112, Caden Crable, and number 121, Easton Hanshoe.
All right, this is our second class of heavyweight market dairy wethers. And so this is class 12. This will be our last class of heavyweights. And these guys weigh 93 to 103 pounds. So again, these guys have a pretty large frame for them. They have good finish on them. Not seeing a whole lot of jiggling going on yet at this point. But it's hard, once we get to this size, once we get to this frame, to go ahead and keep them as fresh and as firm when the judge is starting to handle them. So we'll see what the judge thinks as he goes through and walks through and evaluates these animals as he handles them. And so one of our last fun goat facts for the night before we get into the goat showmanship is goats, like many of the hooved animals, have actually rectangular shaped pupils in their eyes. This gives them vision for about 320 to 340 degrees around them. Compared to us as humans, we have 160 to 210 degrees. So there's only about a 20-degree window straight behind the goat and a small fraction directly in front of them that they can't really see. And so this makes sure that they have excellent night vision. So if you're ever out with goats at night, they can see a whole lot better than we can. And so this selection of goats might be a little bit harder on the judge by the time he starts to look at frame size, looks at finish, looks at how well these animals are represented. So he's starting to make his initial selections. Looks like he's ready for his reasons with this class.
Alrighty, a little difference in weight top to bottom in this class here, but I start off with this Nubian wether, probably one of the lighter ones in this class, but for his overall frame size and scale, he's showing us the best finish today. The overall muscling and length that we like to see in that top line, the flatness of that rump, along with that length of loin and length of rump that he has, placing him over the rest of the class. Then our La Mancha style wether here in 2 over this Alpine, this black wether, just a tremendously smoothly blended wether here, not overdone, very lean, and showing us that extension in length from end to end as well over our third place wether. And then our third over fourth, third one, again, very well finished, a lot of width and depth throughout, a lot of width over that loin and in that rump area, but he's going to grant length from end to end to this Nubian, a bigger frame style wether here in 4, and it is for his overall length from end to end and overall finish that he's had as it's placing over in this really nice sonnet at the tail of the line, a big framed wether again, well fed, done very well with this wether, but just not quite having the overall muscle and type to go any higher in the class today. Let's give him a nice big round of applause.
Your placings for Class 12 are second class of heavyweight market dairy goats. In first place, number 63, Owen Brown. In second place, number 311, Leroy Ruckman. In third place, number 112, Caden Crable. In fourth place, number 121, Easton Hanshoe. And in fifth place, number 310, Anna Ruckman. We're going to go ahead and bring back our first and second place class winners from classes 11 and 12, our heavyweight market dairy goats. This is going to be from class 11, number 72, Reelin Weinbrenner, and number 277, Weston Nestor. And from class 12, number 63, Owen Brown, and number 311, Leroy Ruckman.
All right, so this is our lineup for our heavyweight market goat champion. Again, congratulations to our first place winners from class 11 and 12, Rylan Reinbrenner, number 72, and Owen Brown, 63. And our second place winners, Weston Nestor and Leroy Ruckman.
So as we get in our heavier weight wethers on dairy, sometimes we get a little more frame to them, kind of brought some smaller framed wethers that were more finished for their size and type at their current weight today to the forefront. And as I look at these wethers, really nice fed wethers, done very well and growthy, but not overly sized as far as that frame, and showing us a lot of meaniness yet. But I feel like the two that put it all together for me here are these two black Nubian wethers at the tail of the line. They're going to be your champion reserve in this division. Let's give them a nice round of applause.
Your champion heavyweight market dairy goat was exhibited by Reelin Weinbrenner. Her award was sponsored by Richard Coomer. And your reserve champion was exhibited by Weston Nestor, and his award was sponsored by Nestor Construction. We're going to go ahead and bring in our next class, which is Class 13, our county-born market dairy goats. In this class, we have entry number 208, Emily McLean, 215, Micah Schleybaugh, and 14, Addison Brown.
All right, so this is our last class of dairy market wethers, and these are all animals that have been born here in DeKalb County. So we're highlighting some of those breeders here in DeKalb County. They coincidentally happen to be all Nubians that are coming in here, and these guys weigh 64 to 85 pounds. And so again, as we finish out this class, we will then go ahead and bring in our lineup for our grand champion dairy market goat. And that will be from our lightweight, light medium weight, heavy medium weight, and heavyweight, and our county born class. So we will see what that lineup looks like here in just a couple of moments. Like he's made his initial selection and he's ready to give his reasons.
This are county bred and owned, and this wether I start off with here, just a really nice framed wether, and the overall finish and style and scale that he has is very good. Nice and deep in that chest floor. A little more extension of the brisket even in our second place wether, and a little more length to it, but the overall style and overall finish that we like to see for that body frame size and type is with this spotted wether here at the head of this line. And it is that length from end to end, the overall extension of that brisket, the overall width and depth of that chest floor that we see in our second place wether that's taking them over our third place wether, this black belted wether. Just a little more finished, a little longer in that rump, a little longer in the loin today on that top line, and carrying a little more heavier fleshing as well as finish today. But a well fed wether, well grown wether here at the tail of the line, for which it is commended. Let's give a nice round of applause.
Your placings for Class 13 are county-born market dairy goat. Your champion was number 215, Micah Schleybaugh, and your reserve was number 14, Addison Brown. Our champion award was sponsored by Jeff and Cindy Campbell, and our reserve was sponsored by the Days Farm. We're going to go ahead and bring in our champion and reserve champion winners from all of our weight divisions, as well as our county-born, to compete in our grand drive. From our lightweight division, this will be Caleb Schleybaugh and Lydia McHenry. From our light medium weight division, this will be Caleb Schleybaugh and Catherine Swigart. From our medium weight division, this will be Natalie Dunn and Alex Wolf. From our heavy medium weight division, this will be Taylor Hanshoe and Blake Hanshoe. From our head, this will be Rylan Weinbrenner and Weston Nestor. And from our county-born division, this will be Micah Schleybaugh and Addison Brown.
All right, so as we bring in our animals that have won champion and reserve champion this weekend, or this evening, we can definitely see the difference in the frame size as we got larger and heavier throughout our divisions. So as the animals face you and as they get closer, we are going from county born, and then we're going from heaviest to lightest in weight. All right, now we have our reserve champions coming into the ring for each of those weight divisions as well. All right, so this is our grand drive lineup. Start with our heavyweight closest to us, heavy medium weight, light medium weight, lightweight, and then the county born are at the end of the line as you're looking at them. And so we congratulate each and every one of these individuals that have made it to this point. So as the judge goes down the line, again, he's feeling kind of that brisket area.
Depth throughout, a lot of muscle down that top there. Another well-fed wether, really nice top line, walks very nicely uphill, very smoothly blended style to this animal. And then our Nubian here, the black Nubian with white ears, another lighter weight wether, but a wether well-fed, well-growing, nice amount of meat to bone ratio there. And then our Toggenburg, another solid wether in our lighter weight class that's got a really good meat to bone ratio there as well. And then our homegrown, very showy type at the tail of this lineup, this Nubian type of wether that's spotted, very eye-catching, very smoothly blended, a lot of width and depth in this wether top to bottom as well. As I look up and down this lineup, though, the one, as I mentioned whenever I gave some reasons earlier tonight, that eye appeal, that overall glossiness, that overall smoothness of blending, the overall style that he has. This second place, second wether here, this black one will be your champion tonight. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Well, that was a unique type and style in that lineup, and I feel like that second place weather that comes out here follows that champion very nicely in that type and style that he was. The overall finish, the overall smoothest blending that weather had, that overall eye appeal, the catch that it has because of that smoothness blending and muscling that this weather has. I'm going to stay in that same class with this spotted weather as your reserve champion tonight. Let's give him a nice round of applause. Now for third, a little closer here on our Alpines and our Nubian and our Tog types that we have. But as I look at and I evaluate that bone to meat ratio in these animals, I feel like now this Alpine here, that's would be the third class, follows those two that I just picked as first and second very nicely, and she'll be our third place animal there. Congratulations. Okay, for fourth, I'm going to stay with an Alpine. This young man here in this purple shirt, he is going to have your fourth place animal. Congratulations. Follow those very nicely. And for fifth, it is close between the spotted homegrown at the tail of this line and this black weather here. But I like the length, the overall length of loin, the overall length of rump that we see in this weather. This will be your fifth place weather. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
Your fifth overall was Caleb Hanshoe. Fourth overall, Alex Wolf. Third overall, Natalie Dunn. Caleb Schlebaugh. Your fifth overall was Caleb Schlebaugh. Your fourth overall was Alex Wolf. Your third overall was Natalie Dunn. Your reserve grand champion was Blake Hanshoe. And your grand champion was Taylor Hanshoe. Our Reserve Grand Champion Award was sponsored by DeKalb Farm Mutual, and our Grand Champion Award was sponsored by Richard and Diane Smith. We're going to go ahead and move right on into our showmanship, starting with our seniors. In this class, we will have Taylor Hanshoe, Addison Brown, Leroy Ruckman, Adeline Malcolm, Bridget Dunn, Natalie Dunn, and Lydia McHenry.
All right, congratulations to our Grand, Reserve Grand, and third, fourth, and fifth overall Dairy Market Weather exhibitors. We are now going to start into our showmanship classes. We're starting with our senior showmanship. So these are individuals who are in grades 9 through 12 or competed in intermediate in previous years and were able to move up because they won. So we're excited to see these individuals compete. And then from this class, they will be able to, if they win, participate in the Premier Showman class at the end of this showmanship round. So the winner of our Premier Showman class will come back and exhibit against all the other Premier Showmen on Friday evening here in the DeKalb County Fairgrounds. So we are excited to have you all join us to see the Showman of Showmen contest that will take place for the county on Friday evening here after our livestock auction. And then on Saturday, we are excited to again host the area Showman of Showmen contest hosted by DeKalb County Young Farmers. So this brings together the top showmen from each of the counties that borders DeKalb County to see who the supreme showman is for the area. So that is always an exciting time to see these animals and these youth be exhibited and to show their skills. And so in showmanship on dairy goats, what we'll still want to see is animals that are set up well, have their feet set up under them squarely. They keep their heads held high and square for the judge. The judge is able to see and make sure ears are clean, tails are clean. Sometimes I've even seen showmanship classes get down to make sure that hairs between the toes have fully been clipped. So some of these showmanship classes get pretty intense in terms of looking at cleanliness and management of these goats. Also, the judge is going to look to make sure that these youth are switching from side to side as he switches from side to side. Like I said earlier, during the meat goat show, you want to make sure you keep your goat between you and the judge. You and the judge are going to be the Oreo sandwich. Your cookie or your goat is going to be the Oreo cream. So you want to make sure to keep yourself between the judge and your goat between the judge and you. And so that just allows the judge to be able to see down that line, compare the animals more easily, and you really don't want to try to run over the judge with your goat's feet. You also want to make sure to cross in front of your goat, not behind the goat. So that way you have better control and better handling of that animal. You also want to try, if you can, to get that animal maneuvered into line, and that way you aren't shoving them over with your knee or having to move them over with your hand. You want to try to get them moved into the line as quick and easily and smoothly as possible. The judge, especially with this Dairy Goat Association, has their own showmanship scorecard as well, and so there are certain points awarded to certain parts of that scorecard. So the judge may ask questions, asking how many points are cleanliness of the animal worth? How many points is cleanliness of the child worth? And so that may be questions that the judge will ask. Or it may be common goat questions, things like heart rate of the animal, what's the normal temperature, how much does your goat weigh, what's the breed. So there's a lot of different knowledge and questions that judges can ask to judge showmanship depending on what their preference is. Looks like our judge is talking to the kids, maybe asking them all a question or explaining how the lineup maneuver should have worked. So again, you can see there, he crossed around, and so all the kids should be on the other side of their goats now. So again, these animals have been out for a while. They've been getting cleaned all afternoon. So they're just getting feisty and tired and just want to go back to their pens and lay down some. So we may see a few starting to fight their handlers as we finish up these showmanship classes. But that sometimes makes for a more competitive class if the animals are being a little ambitious and rambunctious. And so sometimes it can prove you're a better showman, or it can make or break that. And so we have our senior showmanship class in now. We'll have 2 classes of intermediate showmen Then we'll have our junior class, and then we'll follow into our premier showmanship class. So again, we want to thank our sponsor of the day, Northeastern Group Realty. They've been committed to serving Allen County and the surrounding communities since 2009, with the exciting addition of their Auburn office in 2019. Our Auburn Realtors are proud members of your community, dedicated to serving all your real estate needs with excellence and care. Our agents are honored to be voted by the Reader's Choice #1 real estate company in 2025. Good luck to all the wonderful 4-Hers and enjoy making memories to last a lifetime. Thank you again, Northeastern Group Realty, for being our sponsor of the day. And again, thank you to our judge, Jerry Lubahusen, for coming up from Davies County to judge our dairy goat market weather portion of the fair this evening. Alright, looks like our judge is asking our individuals questions and kind of giving a few pointers on how to continue to improve their showmanship careers while doing dairy goats. And so again, if you or your youth are interested in participating in 4-H, our enrollment opens on October 1st. You can visit v2.4h online to see more information about enrolling. If you have questions or need help with enrollments or questions about the different projects, please feel free to give our extension office a call at 260-925-2562, and we would be more than happy to answer any questions you have about the 4-H program about what's involved and how you can become involved, either as a youth member, or we are always more than happy to accept new adult volunteers to help teach our youth and lead our youth in these amazing projects that are a participant of 4-H. So again, 4-H enrollment opens October 1st. You can visit 4-H online to get that registration done and become a part of this life-changing association. Alright, so we always appreciate when the judge takes time to go ahead and talk to the kids, talk about kind of methods to improve their showmanship skills, and so we appreciate the judge sharing his knowledge and his information while asking questions from body parts to the scorecards, things like that with these youth today. Looks like our judge is finished talking to our youth and is maybe getting ready to start making his decisions here shortly. We'll see. Nope, looks like the judge is going to do a couple more maneuver techniques with these senior kids. So it looks like the judge may be going through and asking our youth one more question. Some of our animals are getting a little antsy and tired of being out here. Our judges definitely spent quality time with these youth in our senior division this evening, making sure he's solid in his selection of who our senior champion and reserve champion will be. All right, judge is ready to give us his reasons.
That a judge may ask, and a lot of that is up to the senior showman. A lot of times I go into very strong detail, like if I want to doe to kid in January, what month are you going to breed a doe? I didn't do that tonight, but those are some questions that typically I'll ask kids in the senior division, because at this point they need to know a lot more about their goats. I didn't also ask a lot of questions about breeds and where their origin is, but that's something kids can read up in the off season, as well as study that parts diagram of their goat and know all the parts of their goat. If they learn that, they know it for pretty much most species. They may call a part a little different something, but at least they'll know if I ask where the pole is, where that is always at the top of the head, whether it be a cow or whether it be a goat. So similar items there. So I did work with them individually, talk to them about things that I would do to improve, whether it be trimming, whether it be cleaning, whatever it may be. I'm going to go out and congratulate your top showman in this division, but let's give him another big round of applause for a job well done.
Your reserve champion senior dairy goat showman was Adeline Malcolm, and your champion was Lydia McHenry. Our senior award was sponsored by DeKalb Farm Mutual, and our reserve was sponsored by the Kendallville Animal Hospital. Lydia will be coming back to show in our premier showman class. Next, we're going to bring in our first class of intermediate dairy goat showmen. In this class, we have Alex Wolf, Blake Hanshoe, Wyatt Ruckman, Weston Nestor, Owen Brown, Madison Hurrah, and Eva McHenry. This is our first class of intermediate dairy goat showmen. After this, we'll have a second class of intermediate dairy goat showmen as well.
So welcome to our first of 2 intermediate showmanship classes. These are going to be youth that are in grades 6 through 8 or have won in the junior division and have moved up. So we have 7 exhibitors. 2, 3, 4. 7 exhibitors in this class. So we'll see if they've picked up anything that the judge was talking about from our seniors that they can learn and show in this class. So again this evening, our judge is Jerry Luberhusen from Davies, Laura, Indiana. He farms with his wife Sarah and sons Jason and Craig. And they raise corn, soybeans, wheat, a lot of hay, and a lot of boar, Oberhasli, and Nubian goats. Jerry has been a 4-H leader for 35 plus years and is the first assistant of dairy goats at the Indiana State Fair. So we greatly appreciate Jerry coming up and evaluating our market goats and our dairy goat kids this evening. We also want to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors of all of our 4-H awards from this week and also from our summer judging projects. It truly takes a community to be able to help raise our kids, and we greatly appreciate the sponsorships and funding from our local community to help award these youth for the hard work that they have done. So thank you to all of our award sponsors, both for the fall fair and for our summer judging projects. So again, this is the first of 2 of our intermediate youth showmanship classes for our Dairy Goat show. So I'm sure the judge will take maybe his top 2 or top 3 from this class and his top 2 or 3 from the next class, and then have them show off to see who will win our intermediate division of showmanship. Alright, so again, remember youth and intermediate are in grades 6 through 8, unless they've won a previous junior division, and then they would move up. So the judge is talking to the kids about how he wants the next maneuver done.
All right, this is our intermediate showmanship group. This is our first group. So I'm going to go out and congratulate 3. Well done.
The 3 that will be returning are Madison Hurrah, Owen Brown, and Blake Hanshoe. We're going to go ahead and bring in our next class of intermediate dairy showmen. In this class, we have Audrey Malcolm, Leah Martin, Colston Nestor, Rylan Weinbrenner, Violet Hill, Caden Grable, and Connor Cattell.
Alright, so this is our second class in the intermediate division. We have another 7 individuals that are exhibiting in this class. And then I'm sure that, like I said, the judge will pull his top 2 or 3, and we'll compete for intermediate overall once he works these youth. So again, our judge is working these youth through some very common dairy goat maneuvers, moving them around in line, asking them different questions, and making sure that they understand the knowledge and basic management of their animals. Checking ears to make sure they're fully shaved and cleaned. Checking tails to make sure they're cleaned as well. So those are just kind of some common standard things that we do when showing dairy goats. Judge is sending the kids to the lineup maneuver again. Looks like the judge is going through and giving our second class of intermediate youth a few pointers. Imagine he'll probably be making his selection to come back in just a couple of minutes. All right, let's see what the judge has to say.
All right, another super good group of intermediate showmen. Again, let's give them a nice big round of applause for a job well done. I'm going to go out and first congratulate our top three to come back again with the other group. And again, let's give them another big round of applause for a job well done.
Returning from this class to compete for our champion showman is going to be Colston Nestor, Rylan Weinbrenner, and Violet Hill. We're also going to pull in Blake Hanshoe, Owen Brown, and Madison Hurrah from our previous class to compete for the champion drive.
All right, so this is our final lineup for the intermediate Dairy Goat Showman. So again, our participants are Rylan Weinbrenner, Violet Hill, Colston Nestor, Blake Hanshoe, Owen Brown, and Madison Hurrah. So congratulations to these 6 for making it to this point in the intermediate lineup. I'm sure the judge will go back over with them a few of those maneuvers that they did in class to see if they remember or learned anything that he told them. So once we choose our intermediate champion, we'll go into our junior showmanship class. We'll choose our champion from that one class. And then we will have our premier showmanship class. And we will have our premier showman chosen from that. Again, our senior champ, Lydia McHenry, will come back in for the premier class tonight. And the winner of our premier class will go and compete against all the other premier showmen from all the other species this week to become the super showman overall for DeKalb County tomorrow evening following our livestock auction. So I invite you to come and show your appreciation for all the hard work these youth have put in to be the top showman of the county. And then Saturday, again, we have our area Supreme Showman Contest. That is put on again by DeKalb County Young Farmers. And so we appreciate them sponsoring and organizing those shows. And so we bring in the top showmen from each of our neighboring counties to DeKalb. So we have Steuben, LaGrange, Noble, Allen, Whitley, and then over into Ohio we have Defiance, Williams, and that might be it. So it's an exciting time to see all these top showmen come together to see who's the best of the best for the area, and that will take place on Saturday afternoon. So if you're in the neighborhood, we invite you to come down and take a look at the skills that these youth will be exhibiting. And again, I want to thank our sponsor of the day one last time for today. That was the Northeastern Group Realty. They've been committed to serving Allen County and the surrounding communities since 2009, with the exciting addition of their Auburn office in 2019. Our Auburn Realtors are proud members of your community, dedicated to serving all your real estate needs with excellence and care. Our agents are honored to be voted the Reader's Choice #1 real estate company in 2025. Good luck to all the wonderful 4-H'ers and enjoy making memories to last a lifetime. Thank you again to Northeastern Group Realty for being our sponsor of the day. And thank you again for our judge, Jerry Lubehusen, for coming up from Davies County to evaluate our market goats and our youth in the Dairy Goat Project tonight. So it looks like our judge is giving a couple last-minute pointers to our intermediate showman. So I'd expect he'd probably give his results here fairly short.
You're fine. No, it's no worry. I just didn't know if you saw my text or not. Weird. You're fine. Take your time. I'm in no rush. It's just starting to get chilly, and we're still in intermediate, so.
All right, another solid performance on these young showmen. Had them do some maneuvers, then we talked about what I'd like to see them change and do better. But just a really good group to work with. Let's give them a nice big round of applause for a job well done. I'm going to go out and congratulate your top two in this division again. But a super job by all. Let's give them another big round of applause. Thank you.
Your champion intermediate showman was Madison Hurrah. Her award is sponsored by Richard and Diane Smith. And your reserve champion is Rylan Weinbrenner, and her award is sponsored by DeKalb Farm Mutual. We're going to go ahead and move on into our junior showmen. In this class, we have Caitlin Page, Catherine Swigart, Caden Brown, Georgia Martin, Easton Hanshoe, and Dylan Page.
All right, so we now begin our junior dairy goat showmanship class with our 6 contestants. So I'm sure the judge will still ask them to do several of the basic maneuvers and look at cleanliness of the animals. Make sure, again, ears, tails, noses, toeses are all cleaned. You may ask a few of the basic body parts, basic questions. You know how to stop it. Yes.
And then just shut everything off.
Judge is getting ready to talk to our last exhibitor in this class. And so following this, our junior champion class, we will have our premier champion class. And this again will bring back Lydia McHenry from our senior class today, along with any other previous senior winners or premier winners. So our judge is going to do one more maneuver with our juniors. Some of the goats are definitely ready to go back to their pens and take a nap. Looks like our judge is making one last pass. We'll decide who our junior champion and reserve champion are going to be.
Alrighty, this is our junior division, and what a good group of junior showmen to work with. Let's give them a nice big round of applause. So we did some maneuvers, we talked about some parts, we talked about ears of goats. So I asked these exhibitors if they ever registered a goat before. They said they did it. But if you ever go online with the American Dairy Goat Association and sit down and register a goat, when you come to the ears part, you got to tell them what kind of ears they have, because if you're registering an Alpine and they don't have erect ears, the papers come back recorded grade, because Alpines always have erect ears. Same way, Nubians have pendulous ears. They hang down. It's like an old grandfather clock that swing. The pendulum swings to keep it in time. So Nubians have long pendulous ears. So I asked the kids that showed Nubians if they knew what kind of ears they had. And they looked at me funny, and I said, are they erect or are they down and pendulous? So just a little trivia that I worked with them on out here, but all Nubians have pendulous ears, and if they don't, if they have airplane or they have erect ears, guess what? They're not Nubians. They come back recorded grades if you sit down and register them. So kind of interesting there. Excellent group of kids to work with, very polite, very neat animals. I think they picked up on cleanliness as I was going through my showmanship classes today, all very clean. And very attentive whenever I told them what they needed to do to correct their animals, leading them around the ring. If I can impress anything upon them, it is study the diagram of their goat, that they can point out all the parts in the future. Most of them were pretty good, or they had an idea where they were at. If they weren't, I told them, so they knew where they were. But study that parts diagram and come back and know all those parts for me. And then also the scorecard is on the American Dairy Goat Association website. So kind of look at the maneuvers on how to do those, that you know more than what I told you here in the ring about how to do them. You can see it on paper, and then sometimes that visualizing it makes it a little easier to do those, okay? But a super good job. Let's give them another big round of applause, and I'll congratulate our winners here.
Our champion junior dairy goat showman was Caden Brown, and our reserve with Catherine Swigart. Our junior award was sponsored by Jeff Bierbauer, and our reserve was sponsored by Global Archery Products. We're going to go ahead and bring in our premier dairy goat showmen. These are all showmen who have won our senior division in the past. In this class, we have Bailey Fisher, Emily McLean, Remington Weinbrenner, and our new addition, Lydia McHenry.
All All right, so this is our last class of the evening for the goat show. This is our dairy goat premier showman class. So all of these individuals have won senior showmanship in the past or are representatives from our senior doe show that was held this summer. So these are individuals that are all very knowledgeable about their goats, about what they are showing. And so we will see what maneuvers and questions the judge asks of them today. And so again, with this premier showman class, the judge is looking just for smoothness of maneuvers, how proper the maneuvers are being done and how easily these individuals are handling their goats. All right, so our judge is going to keep our kids moving around here just a little bit while longer. And again, we want to thank all of our sponsors for our awards, our sponsor of the day, and all of our volunteers that have helped to make the Fall Fair run as smoothly as it has. So thank you to everybody who has done some part in helping to make the 4-H program and the Fall Fair a success. We also invite you out to the 4-H livestock auction tomorrow. Our introductions and prizes and things like that will start at 10:30 a.m. with the auction starting about 11 a.m. And so it gives you an opportunity to come and support our youth and all of the hard work that they've put into their animals. looks like our judge has made his decisions. We'll see where his placings are.
Not sure if they call this their advanced showmanship class or what the exact term for it is, but it's past winners and winners this year that come back. And so if they paid attention today, as I worked with the other classes, they probably had a pretty good idea what I was looking for. But one of them, what made it easy on me, was flawless in the maneuver of side by side, like they are right now. Whenever I had her move up and down the lineup, she always was attentive where I was at, turned in the opposite direction, always kept that goat between me and her. Your winner of this division was pretty easy, and that's this young lady right here. Congratulations. The other three made a little harder on me. So not always turning quite the right direction, or going behind some of the other goats whenever they maneuvered. And then whenever I asked questions, pretty good on questions that I asked, but I had one flawless on parts. And so for that reason, she will be our second and runner-up. This young lady in the pink. Congratulations today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for, the results for your premier Dairy Goat Showman. Your premier Dairy Goat Showman for 2025 is Bailey Fisher. Her award is sponsored by DeKalb Extension Homemakers. Once again, I'd like to take a moment to thank our judge, Jerry Lubihausen from Davis County, for judging our dairy goats today. Thank you so much. And thank you again to our sponsor of the day, Northeastern Group Realty, for sponsoring our show, and for all of our sponsors for the awards today. And before I let you go, as a reminder, I just want to tell everyone out there who can hear me that you are important and you matter, and that God loves you and he has a plan for you, and that he sent his son to die on the cross for you. And Jesus came back 3 days later to save us from our sins so that God could have a relationship with you, and that is how much he loves you. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to come and talk to me or any of the Prangers. And I think Josie had something she wanted to say.
Hello, I'm Josie Pranger, and I want to end this night with prayer because, and I'm scared to do this, but I'm more scared of our community with a lack of Jesus. And I just want to pray right now because I don't care who's listening. I know God's listening. And I'm desperate for revival. And I don't care what I look like. Father, I pray over DeKalb County right now. I pray that you would touch hearts tonight. I pray that you would stretch out your hand and you would birth revival right here from the DeKalb Fairgrounds, Lord. That you would use ordinary people just like me that would step out in their faith to reach out to someone who doesn't know you. What is our faith if we can't be bold enough to share it? Is it really real?
All right. We thank you all for joining us this evening and appreciate your time, and have a great evening, everybody. Thank you.